I know nothing. 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 Nothing.
Yeah, I don't know anything about 3D printers or 3D printing. But in this video, I hope to prove that even this old dum-dum can figure out how to use a 3D printer and how to get some decent 3D prints. And I plan to do it all with this printer right here. So if you're interested to see how I did, come with me and find out. Alright, it's time to stumble and fumble through this whole 3D printer adventure. These are the first two items I've printed on the HeyGears RS Turbo. First of all, I'd like to thank HeyGears for sponsoring this video and sending me the RS Turbo to try out. Here's some technical information about the RS. You can pause the video to take a closer look. I figure it's better for you to see this information than for me to try and explain it. I really didn't want to get any of this information wrong. That's why you're seeing it rather than hearing it. Okay, looks like the first print is complete, and this is my first print as a newbie. So first thing I'm going to do is clip on this little drip tray here, and you can see it's installed. First of all, I'm going to raise the build plate. So done there. Go back to home, and we'll go into settings, platform control. We'll go raise. And the platform now is at its highest height, so I'm going to take the build plate off. That's just a matter of loosening this on the front here. Now it's time to remove these off the build plate. And I'll be using this to wash the models. A friend of mine told me about it. He said it was cheaper and more effective than using alcohol. HeyGears also provided this washing station. Okay, now it's time to drain these. So I've got the empty tank and I have the full tank. You have to make sure that that's on off, and this also is turned off. You don't want it on because you'll have a flood. I'm going to place this one on top, and it should work when I open this. You can hear it filling into the other one. You can see it's draining.
Evacuation beginning.
Alright, let's check it out. And there you can see the parts. I don't have to put my hands in the solution. Okay, here's our parts all clean. The next thing is to break off all these supports, and you can hear that. Very satisfying. And those just pull right away. And the internal parts break right off. That looks freaking amazing. And I have to say, these are super easy to break off. And there is the tray holder to drain the plate. Okay, the curing station has a bake function, a cure function, and a setup function. I want to go to the cure function for 5 minutes. Place the parts in there, and there it goes. And you can see on the inside of the machine it has curing lights, and it's all mirrored on the inside too, so you'll get a full cure. I'd say that piece looks pretty good overall. I suppose it's time to talk a little bit about HeyGears Blueprint Studio. Again, being a newbie, I really don't have anything to compare it to. After watching a few videos, I found it actually fairly easy to navigate this program. And I have to give a shout out here to Greedy3D. He has a really good video on how to use the Blueprint Studio. I'll link that video in the description. Once I got the project set up, it was time to drag in some files. These were free files I found on Cults 3D. Blueprint offers one-click slicing, automatic support generation, and automatic infill. And as a beginner, these are some features I really appreciated. If you've used slicers before, then most of this information is probably not new. But for me and those of you who haven't used slicing programs before, this is literally Star Wars futuristic kind of stuff. I come from a generation of comic books, building models, and Saturday morning cartoons. So this technology is mind-blowing, voodoo magic kind of stuff to me. The program is pretty much click and play. However, I did take advice from the 3D printing gurus out there and decided to orient the busts this way. I decided to go with auto support this time, and the first one is in real time so you can see how long it took to actually generate the supports. This just seemed to make more sense, so I went ahead and sliced it. One of the interesting features of Blueprint is you can start a new job while the other one is finishing up. And that's probably a key feature if you do a lot of printing. Recently used setup can be used unless of course you're changing the resin or the UM. I did use one-click slice on this model because the orientation wasn't critical to the final outcome. And once the files were sliced, I could send them to the printer. One of my biggest concerns about 3D printing was actually using the slicing software. I thought it would take ages to learn how to use a slicing program, but using Blueprint really made it quite simple. So far I like what I see, but we'll find out. They're coming off really easy actually. They're on there enough that they're sticking, but not... Now this one seems to be a little more difficult, maybe because it's a little bigger. Alright, those came off really nice. There's the first bust. That looks pretty good. The second one, again, looks quite good. And the last one. These supports are being a little difficult. Well, maybe I need to try the hot water thing, like these ones. Okay, let's try this again. Now that they've sat in hot water for a couple minutes, and they are. Yeah, just like that. So that's all it needed, was a little bit of hot water, it looks like. Oh yeah, very satisfying to tear those away so easy. All right, let's take those off. Nice and easy. Perfect. All right, I've put one model in. I don't want them all banging around, so I just put the one in. We'll do one at a time. I think it'll just be safer that way. So, wash. Pass 10 is right. And start. All right, here are the three figures cleaned up with the supports removed, and I think overall I'm pretty happy with the results of these prints. If you look up close, I have done a little post-processing on this particular one. Some sanding and removing of the little nubs around the back, as you can see right there. So they all need to be cleaned up. There was some here, a little bit under the chin, not too much around the face, and just a little bit here around the back of the hair. Will need a little work. And I guess right there on the collar, but pretty smooth. I don't see, there's no layer lines whatsoever that I can see. That looks pretty damn good. Now from that to this, again, quite smooth. Maybe a few little layer lines right in here, but not bad. I mean, that probably paint will cover that, I think. Hard to say until you get it on. Might take some steel wool to that just to smooth it out. Unfortunately, her nose got smushed, and that was probably due to me rough handling her when I took her out of the printer. Or I might have banged it on something, but that's an easy fix. I can sculpt that back in. There's quite a few little dimples all over the place in here. And then the back is just atrocious, and I don't know what to do about that. Maybe I should have supported it differently or set it at a different angle. I'll probably try these again at some point, but the print quality is good. This one turned out quite nice. Again, just a few little nubs on the face there that need to be removed. Nothing major. Quite a few around the back again, and in here there's a mountain of them. Leave me a comment if you know how to get rid of those support nubs or to make them smaller. Maybe there's a tweak in there that I just haven't found yet, or maybe I just need to use less supports. Great sculpts. I mean, geez, those look just like them. And these were free. Yeah, so very impressed with the print quality. Like any resin model, there's always a little post-production involved, whether it's 3D printed or traditionally cast. To get the best results, you'll want to wet sand your models. I like to use these sanding sticks in various grits. Just make sure that your sanding sticks or paper is meant for wet sanding. And my secret weapon for the final smoothing of the resin is this steel wool. Well, maybe not so secret. Some of you may not know about using steel wool, and if you haven't tried it, I'd suggest you go out and get yourself some. It really works great. Just make sure to wash the model really well after, or you'll end up with steel wool in your paint. Here's that second attempt I made printing this bust. This time I printed it flat to the build plate, and the front didn't turn out as well as the back. Here you can see the back looks great this time. So I'm sure this is where my inexperience is holding me back from getting perfect prints. It's not the machine, it's the user.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Well, looks like I've had my first failure. I think I made the supports way too small for the size of this model. Again, I'm a newbie, don't have a clue what I'm doing, so this is my rig to try and pour that vat back into this, just in case I have a big spill. This screw on top is not the right screw on top for that bottle. I still have to print that, so I'm going to attempt to put this in, and I guess we'll see how I do. Disaster averted. I managed to get it all back into the bottle. It's just a matter of being careful. I've heard some people having a disaster when they try to put their resin back in a bottle from the tank here. As you can see, there is the bottom of the Leia figure, the failure, and there's still a crest decal in there too that I didn't even know was in there, and it seems to be adhered to the clear membrane here. They came off just fine. I was a little worried. They seemed like they're really stuck, but they managed to come off fairly easy. And there you can see nice wafer thin Princess Leia. She's been cartooned. Anyway, back to the drawing board. These are the crests I printed. I'm much happier with my second attempt. Some were printed directly on the build plate and the others had supports. They were all thickened a few millimeters as well. Success! We have a print. This time it did not fail. I tweaked a couple things this time. I went back in and added more supports. You can see there on the front, the long skinny ones. So you can do auto supports, but then you can go back in and add extra supports if you think it needs it. And I thought it needed it, so I added more. And that seemed to work. So very happy, and that was just over 8 hours of printing. Really, I think this printer is pretty simple to operate. I mean, if I can do it, anyone out there can do this. Sure, I had a couple fails, and everybody has fails. Like I keep saying, I know nothing about 3D printing and 3D printers, but as you can see, you can get decent prints and not know anything about this. All right, well, let's get it off the plate and take a closer look and see what it looks like. Here is the bust. The supports have been taken off, and you can see the details look really good. I'm very impressed with the quality of this one. Look at the skin textures. Facial features are exactly like the character in Breaking Bad. And on the suit coat, you can see the textures woven into the fabric there. And then I did cut holes in the top of the neck, or the top of the suit coat rather. I also cut holes in the bottom of the head here, and apparently that is for drainage, because I did make these particular figures hollow. A good close-up so you can see the quality you can get without knowing jack all about 3D printers. Basically did auto supports and print, and that's what it did. Of course there is some cleanup that'll be needed here, but it's not too bad. I have some things coming from Amazon that I'll be able to rig up a little light so I can stick in these holes here, because you do need to cure the inside of a hollow model. You can maybe see a little bit of resin leakage right there under his nose. That's not cured yet, so things like that can start happening on a model, apparently, if you don't cure the inside. And I also printed some 1/35th scale models, and the toothpicks there for reference so you can see the size of some of these things. Here are the fails that happened. I mean, I don't know what happened to that shovel. These two pieces are bowed, but I could fix those with some hot water if needed. And you can see some of these things. Look how much detail there is in this little vise here. And the oiler. And look at that detail. That's crazy for 1/35th. I can't believe it printed things this small. Wire cutters, hand drill. There's the other MP40. It's not bad. It didn't turn out great though. And the hammer, table, kind of a sawhorse. And then these Libya road markers turned out really well. And there's the anvil. And you look at it, you can see the text on it. So, you know, don't know what I'm doing. I keep saying that, but it's true. Have no idea about this stuff. I'm just push and print, and this is what I'm getting. I don't know, I would suggest getting one of these HeyGears printers. It's simple. I mean, like I said, I know nothing about this, and you know, that's the kind of results I'm getting from just pushing print. Time to change resins. I ran out of resin on this last print, and part of it failed, but I think I still might be able to salvage it. So I've already cleaned the build plate off, got all the resin off from the other. I'm not sure exactly how clean you have to have it. I guess we'll find out. And then it's just two of these bolts here that undo on the vat. I torque them up pretty good because that's just the way I am. I like to make things nice and tight. And I do like this, the fact that the bolts don't come out. That's kind of nice, so you don't lose them. And then it's just a matter of lifting the tray out, taking it to the next area where I will pour it out and clean this vat. Here's one of the funnels I printed. One of the filters that they send you for filtering the resin. It's got this nice little pouring spout end on it, which makes it super convenient for pouring the resin back in. And it's just a matter of tipping it over and letting it flow into the cup or back into the bottle. The one I'm going to use now for the next batch are the Ultra Print Production PAF10 Volcanic Gray. And apparently it is a little more flexible than the other resins. So I guess we'll see. Hopefully it works out for what I'm doing now. I prefer it to be a little more rigid, but it might work. So with these bottles, they have a different way of loading the printer with resin. It's a little ball joint in here. Just pushes down. I can just put it in the back of the machine and it flows into the tray. And you can see back here, that's where the cartridge gets loaded into. It goes into the back end right down in here. Apparently it goes in just like that. Slides on in. Now let's take a look if the resin is flowing, and there it is. You can see the resin is discharging. Apparently this can take a while. I'm not going to sit here and let you painfully watch this flow into the tray, so we'll come back when it's all loaded in and I'll let you know how long it took. Alright, you saw how long that was taking. That was over 5 minutes to get it to there. I don't know, you have to be doing something for quite a while to wait for that to flow into there. So I would say it's not for me, but HeyGears has offered the option of taking that lid off and just pouring it in just like you would any other bottle of resin. So I'm going to do that, and this takes all of 30 seconds, maybe a minute at the most. There, tank is full, ready for action. So far, I'd say that's the only thing that's kind of bothered me about this 3D resin printer is that delivery system. If they could get that to flow faster, I think they really have something to be beneficial to everybody that's using it. Here's another item that I just finished printing. It is one of these. It's for holding your armor models, if you're an armor modeler, and I do that from time to time as well. These are the parts, and the reason this one's darker and this one's lighter and that one's darker and lighter, that's because I had to redo the print because I had a fail here. I thought I might be able to get away with it, but that's kind of the flat area where the model sits, so I thought I'd reprint it. So I printed it with more of the flexible resin for these two parts, and then all the rest got printed with the high detail resin. And then all you need for this particular item is some bolts. I don't know if I'll use the wing nuts, but the two types of bolts and nuts are what you need to put this together. So here's the tank jig put together. Once I glue those rare earth magnets in there, then it should work to hold the model in place, and then you can work on it freehand. It can be tilted or moved if you wanted to work on the front and the back of it, or moved, like I said, on the base like this way. And it's pretty multifunctional, so this is pretty cool. I'm very happy with this print. Here are a few other items that I printed as well. I printed some clips for a toolbox that had broken a long time ago, and the one function on there that I think is kind of neat, you can engrave or emboss names or information onto the pieces that you're printing, and you can see how well that printed. Those just clip into the part of the toolbox, and then you can close the box again. These last few items here I did print with the flexible resin. It's the same head, just printed at different scales. I did alter the attachment points that attach to the model and made them a little smaller and spread them out a little more so there's not as many. So the attachment point nubs aren't nearly as big, but you can see the quality here, how incredible that is at such small scale and then large scale. Inside the mouth is even represented. It's not just a solid chunk of resin, and this one kind of really blew me away. And you can see the flexible resin that I printed it with. So I mean, this would snap if I really bent it hard, but the nice thing about this resin is if you happen to touch this, you know, that would snap right off if it was regular resin. So it's really good for anybody that needs that flexibility with a model. I don't know how much I would probably utilize that, but for this particular piece it made sense. On this little milk can here, you can see how nice the detail is on that handle. That is insane that you can print something like that and get that kind of fine detail. But you can see it's terrible. I didn't change the settings on it and it just ripped out some of the resin, so I just have to play around with that a little more. The buckets aren't as bad. They're you can see I did some sanding on this one, and maybe just a little filler is all it would need. But they printed hollow on the inside. These little handles here printed out real nice. So you can see the kind of incredible detail you can actually get with this printer and the resins that they offer. There's a couple versions of this helmet here. And then I played around with a bit of a scaling with some figures, and this is printed with the flexible resin, and you can see the flexibility in the strap there. Again, the nice thing about these is you can emboss or do engraving. This one I just put 16 scale and 120 millimeter, And then each of them have that on the base itself. So this is 72nd, this is roughly 1/35th scale, 1/25th scale, and then 1/16th scale. I use smaller supports, so the amount of attachment point deformation is a lot less. It looks like maybe there's some sort of weird layer line here in the shoulder, and I don't know what would have caused that. I did do some calibration tests as well. I'm really not sure how to read them. All I know is that they're supposed to fine-tune your printer settings. Besides that, they're just really cool little models. This was the hardest video I've had to make so far. There was a lot of unfamiliar territory that I had to cover here, and I really hope I was able to give some kind of value to those of you that have never tried 3D printing before. If you'd like to purchase this printer, you can use the code SmallSoldierADV to get $60 off the RS Turbo. I'll put that link and the rest of my affiliate links in the description below. Any purchase you make off those affiliate links doesn't cost you a cent more, but it really goes a long way to offsetting some of the costs that are associated with running a YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video and found some value in it, please consider subscribing, hit the bell notification, and most importantly, give this video a like. That lets YouTube know that you enjoyed my video, and they'll serve it up to others interested in the same type of content. For more interesting content, check the video out on your screen right now. And I'll see you there.